So I'm going to give you the results, and then we are going to discuss a couple of things that we posted along the way while I was back in the room. Here's the count. John Murphy, 3,693.
Wow. That's a lot of people.
David Thurman, 3,982. David Thurman is the sheriff-elect for Scioto County.
Well, that's a good congratulatory.
So we do have a new sheriff. The difference, 289 votes.
Wow.
So David Thurman will be Scioto County Sheriff.
Wow. Any other updates to go with that?
So a couple things came up, and the biggest issue that came up were these ballots that were postmarked on the 28th. Now, Secretary of State Frank LaRose said it had to be postmarked by the 27th. So there was a little bit of controversy. Do we accept these? Do we not accept these because they were postmarked by the 28th? Here's the discussion was had that I witnessed firsthand. I was there, so I will tell you the decision that was made, but I will also give you the context in which it was made. In Portsmouth, our mail goes to Columbus and so it's postmarked in Columbus. So even if you mail something to your next door neighbor, it goes to Columbus first and then comes here, okay? Right. That's consideration number one that the board had to think about. Consideration number two was there's this rule that nobody knew about, even the Board of Elections didn't know about until after they were trying to decide what to do with these group of ballots that were postmarked on 28, that you needed to request, now listen, this was new to everybody, you needed to request that your ballot be postmarked locally on the 27th.
How would you do that?
So many, everybody, if you just put it on your in your mailbox, or you drove down to the post office and put it in that receptacle, wouldn't have worked, right? You had to actually physically go into the post office and request that it be postmarked locally, and then it would get two postmarks. It would get a local postmark and then a Columbus postmark. And some of the ballots did have. There was one in there specifically that had a Raritan post office mark.
Wow. And
then a Columbus postmark. So, but nobody knew that you had to request, that you could request a postmark in Portsmouth. The post office didn't put out a release. Nobody said it. Even the Board of Elections did not know that until they were researching how they were going to proceed with these postmarks from the 28th. So with that in mind, that all the mail goes to Columbus first. B, that you were supposed to, or you had the option to have the postmark from your local post office, but nobody knew that. Then they voted to accept those ballots that were postmarked on the 28th, even though it said the 27th. The county decided to make it on the 28th because of those two items, that they had to go to Columbus first, and nobody knew that you could actually request to have your postmark. So go ahead and give us your thoughts on your experience, because you've been here with me. You've just been out here and I was in there. Talk about that, and I'm going to slide off camera just a second.
Oh, no problem. So again, as I updated you earlier, again, we were waiting with Mark on these results along with all of you, and I was trying to update your comments the best that I could, and Mark's comments from the actual room. So I'm happy that it's hopefully done. It was kind of like feeling like pins and needles out here, because again, you want to get those final results to find out who is going to be the new sheriff and some other things that are on the ballot as well. Some were overall the night of the election, we kind of already knew, but I know the sheriff was a big thing for her for Scioto County. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. We are bringing in Mr. Derek Meyer from the. No, you go ahead.
Okay.
I'll project.
Okay.
Normally Betty projects, but I'll project. Oh,
It was
a rose between two thorns. Oh, wait a minute. No, the thorn between two roses.
It was quite tense in there, Mark. Let me tell you what.
It was tense. Yes, it was. Yeah, palatable.
You could actually see the look of relief on David Thurman's face, and actually John Murphy. You caught this actually. John Murphy reached out and tried to shake, and actually did shake Thurman's hand and said congratulations.
That's good to know.
We were trying to get a photograph, of course, of the handshake heard around the county, but it happened so quickly. Both Derek and I were both with our phones, but it happened so quickly that then we looked at each other and went, "What? We missed it." But for those of you, yes, Murphy did initiate the congratulatory handshake.
And actually, it was interesting too because David Thurman was just overcome with emotion. It just looked like a wave came over him. It's been a long 18 months, he was telling me. He and his family have been through a lot. And any candidate who runs for office has been through a lot.
Yeah, when you take on the political arena, for the first time, and then of this magnitude and scope, and then you add to it the freaking pandemic that drags everything out for months and months, it'll take a toll on the strongest person. David definitely physically, and you can just see on sight. Bless it, he just absolutely took a toll on him. So we said we're going to give you a couple of days before we ask for a statement because he was very overcome. But I can't quote because we were off the record, but I can say he was truly humbled and surprised. And what other adjectives can we use without quoting him because we were off the record?
I think he was very thankful.
Thankful.
Yes. And one thing he said was he's looking forward to getting to work for the people of Scioto County, and he hopes that the current administration, who has been in power for quite some time, will work with him in a smooth transition. I know he had mentioned that he's going to, it's trite and cliche to say, but hit the ground running. This week he's going to get with other county officials about some things, budgets and whatnot, because as the sheriff next year, January 4th, 2021, he takes the oath of office.
It's crazy to think it's almost 6 months away.
Eight months.
Yeah.
Yes.
8 months away. It's going to be.
I'm thinking it's June. No.
Going to be. It's going to be a lot of work between now and the 4th of January.
So at this point now they need to build a transition team and begin to work on things like budgets, contracts with various vendors and unions, and there's just a lot to do between now and then.
You brought up the union contract,
yes.
And I think it's interesting to point out that the current union contract with the sheriff's office, as we're aware here, expires at the end of this year, and I'm sure the sheriff-elect is going to want to have some sort of involvement in negotiations.
So there's a lot to do. We hope that they take a day, take a couple days, take a few days, let it sink in, hug your family. You know what I mean? And then it's time, even though January is some time away, he is literally going to roll up his sleeves and go to work right in the immediate future. I mean, everybody needs, of course, a period of respite, but he will absolutely go to work immediately.
I'm really concerned how November is going to turn out right now after all this. I mean, with the new primary coming up and the new people coming into this election.
You bring up a really good point there, Betty. I was talking with some folks on my way down here this morning, and the Democrats in the state house right now are trying to work and get voting by mail. They said they're getting some opposition by the GOP side. A lot of people are concerned with how the November election is going to play out, but this is day one of what's left of the election year.
Yeah.
So, this has been a presentation, an exclusive presentation from Scioto County Daily News. Because, were there any other press out there? Was it?
You were the only media outlet here today.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I came as I came as a private citizen. You know,
Okay.
I was here for some other reasons.
Okay.
So,
You know I got backlash the last time, so I want to make sure.
That's why I'm saying we were the only press. Our friend Derek, who was is the editor for the Scioto Guardian. He's here as a private citizen, an onlooker, and so we are bringing you this breaking news. And those of you that have joined since we went live, I will repeat the numbers before we close out. Murphy 3693, Thurman 3982. So David Thurman will be the next Scioto County Sheriff. So there is indeed a regime change. With that, thank you all for watching. Please comment. Have anything you want to say? Go right ahead and let your voice be heard. But the voters have been heard today.
What is that slogan you guys have?
So we have multiple slogans, but we have a mission statement. And our mission statement is to report without bias and tell the truth without compromise.
And progress?
Progress inspires change. That is our main slogan, yes. Progress inspires change.
We've certainly seen that
How do
today.
you feel that?
Well, we've seen it today for sure. Progress has inspired some change.
There's certainly some things that are going to happen. But people need to know that whoever won today would have months and months of prep work to do ahead of assuming office. So you want to talk about, salary, compensation, and all that kind of stuff. There is so much work that has to be done leading up to taking the oath of office at their own, while having their own job, because Murphy or Thurman would still be having their own responsibilities, then trying to do this transition and be able to, as you say, hit the ground running in January. So it would literally be double time for either candidate. It so happens in this case that it is Sheriff-elect David Thurman.
Well, and the citizens deserve a smooth transition.
They do, because there has not been too many smooth things going on in the state of Ohio and Scioto County with the pandemic and all this kind of thing. Just very little smoothness.
I want to say on the media side, this has been one of the most exciting elections that I've been involved in a long time. I mean, outside of your presidential elections, for something to be in the county like this, and then, like you said, everything we went through to get those results.
You want to do a little Q&A?
All right, we're going to do a Q&A. What are we Q&A about?
We're going to have Betty, since Betty's up there.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
If there's any questions or comments on there.
Yeah. You want to scroll up, Betty?
Yeah,
Here,
that's what I was looking
I can
for.
look at my phone
He
too.
can look at his feed.
While you get those pulled up
A lot
here.
of people are excited.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, if you guys want to do a little Q&A.
I mean, it was tense in there, and I looked at Mark actually on 2 or 3 occasions, and I said, it's tense.
Several people had to walk out and take a beat.
They were
On both sides. People had to walk out, get some fresh air, take a beat, catch a breath. Very, very, very tense.
very tense. Just looks like one person says congratulations to Sheriff-elect Thurman. A lot of people saying they're excited. It's National Law Enforcement Week, so I see some stars on there and some
Very
black
good.
and blue, and looks like
Go ahead if you have any questions. We're going to do them right here live. It's kind of off the cuff, but we're all here.
when Mark and I get together, it just naturally connects and flows. It's a light bulb. I mean, we enjoy being together every time. But I think when we just look at overall transitioning things, I think about the little things, including the names on the side of the sheriff cruisers.
Right.
I mean, little things like that. There's going to have to be new stickers put on every single cruiser, on both panels.
So there's going to have to be a contract. So therefore, there's going to have to be bids.
right? So the print companies have to put in the bids to do the stickers.
I mean, it is an immense amount of work, from little things like stickers on the side of cars to the big things like budgets and administrative and union contract negotiations, as you said, little things into big things. It's going to be a lot of work. All right. Well, it looks like everyone's just watching. They're rather excited. So
Good. Well, I was hoping for some questions because I was ready to let's talk about it. But I think the biggest question was over the whole we're taking ballots postmarked the 28th, even though Frank LaRose said the 27th, and they made the decision and why they made the decision. And so I wanted to make that clarification as to why that decision was made. It was voted upon. It wasn't a unilateral, one person with a golden pen just made the decision. It was put to the board. The board voted. We both witnessed the arguments for and against, the questions that came up, and then the ultimate vote, and they decided to accept those.
they felt like the ballots had been placed in the mailbox here in Portsmouth, or in the county anyway, and did not make their way to Columbus over that night, and they felt that perhaps it could have been put into the box, say, on the 26th or at noon on the 27th.
Right. And to be fair, there were two other piles that they had separated that were postmarked on different days, that were received on different days. So there were several piles, and so they talked about each pile. The clerk or secretary went over each pile and why this was an item that was needed to be debated and then ultimately voted on, and then went to the next pile and then went to the next pile to get down to what they ended up being able to count.
So it looks like 27 ballots were placed in that box that they think might have been in there and believe that were in there. Another 50 total with signature issues or other issues. In addition to that, there were 4 ballots that they rejected that had no signatures.
Right.
Another 9 who just simply didn't have an envelope, but somehow they made it their way to the Board of Elections. They had another 9 that did not have identification and a signature. They had 1 who didn't have any identification. They had 1 empty envelope that didn't have a ballot in it.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, for me this year, it was very confusing to go by mail.
It was we call it the Ohio two-step, right? And then when you actually got the ballot, it was a two-step because you had to put an envelope inside an envelope. But yeah, so they had one that had all the envelopes, and so I guess the person was so trying to make sure that they followed all the procedures, they forgot to put the ballot in.
And I'll tell you, Mark, one thing, and one thing that really got me too was a total of 19 people walked into the Board of Elections on what was considered Election Day, the new Election Day, and 19 ballots were rejected because those people did not have an official reason to be voting in person. You had to be disabled or homeless.
Right.
And so according to the Board of Elections, they were asking these people questions as they walked into the door. Are you disabled? Are you homeless? According to the Board of Elections, 19 people said did not give an answer.
Did not fall into that category for in-person.
So
voting.
their ballots were rejected. Now they're getting credit for voting, but their votes are not counted. And so even with all the numbers, there still would not be enough to, at least with the sheriff's race, to make a change.
Right.
Even if they were all in the affirmative for the opponent, John Murphy, or for the sheriff-elect. There simply would not be enough there to make a change. It may be enough to trigger an automatic recount.
It has to be 0.5%. So do we know the total ballot we could do?
Well, it's more than 0.5% now, right now. So I know it's
okay. So yeah, it has to be 0.5%. Or less to trigger an automatic recount. Now, any candidate, if they choose to pay for a recount, they can do that at any time for any reason. But to trigger an automatic recount, it is 0.5%.
And another ballot came in yesterday, according to the Board of Elections, and they said they're going to continue. The quote was, "We will still continue to get more in." They said they're still getting.
Yeah, they got stuff in like yesterday.
They said they're still getting, all the way up until yesterday, requests for ballots. And so one thing I would say to people watching is, educate yourself on how the November election is going to be handled.
Right, because we still don't know. We would like to assume, I mean, we go back to retail businesses, according to the governor, are going to start opening back up. Then restaurants on the 15th for outdoor dining, restaurants for indoor dining on the 21st. So there is what's they're calling the Restart Ohio plan. However, everything is subject to change, because if there is a new surge that comes up, they could clamp back down and reinstall the stay-at-home mandate. So we don't know if we're going to have elections as per usual in November or not.
And it's something the governor is going to undoubtedly work on as we get through this. I was texting with the governor yesterday, and he's looking forward to talking about nursing homes today. That's what he's going to be discussing at his 2 o'clock press conference. And then hopefully sometime this week, he says, to tackle child care.
The sad part about this is that June 2nd was stuck in a lot of people's heads, and I could see why there's still votes coming in, because if you and I had to talk that week, we had no idea about that two-step process to go on. You had to file, send in your information, wait for a ballot to come back.
You guys are hearing the voice of Betty Smith, who's off camera.
Sorry.
And that also goes along with one of the board members mentioned that, we had, Scioto County had just received these fantastic electronic voting machines that were used in the previous election. They were so wonderful. And then what happened is they dispatched them, and everybody remembers the story, we're going to have an election, so they drag all these machines out, and then they go, no, we're not going to have an election, so they bring all the machines back in, and then they go, yes, we are going to have an election, they bring them all back out. And it was back and forth.
All day,
and
wasn't it?
Yeah, up until 10:40 p.m. the night before the election. And so all the candidates were clearly frustrated with the situation. Now, bring that to today. One of the members of the Board of Elections reminded me that this counting system, this ballot, the paper ballot, they are used to a point for absentee ballots for our military personnel who are serving elsewhere, and so they are used to it. But the volume is something that they have not seen in this person that I'm referring to in their tenure as a board member.
Going back to what you said, I can remember, I think it was March 16th, the night before the election was supposed to be. I was on the phone trying to get a hold of the Secretary of State, calling the governor's office, trying to get some indication of what in the world was going on. Right. And we didn't know until, like you said, up until after 10 o'clock. Yeah. They just simply were not answering emails, returning phone calls, texts, nothing. I mean, I almost went to the governor's mansion.
Excuse me, Fran.
I've been to their house. I was at their house last week. I was at the governor's private residence last week. They have a beautiful estate. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Can't get past the highway patrol, but
yeah, there is that. So is there anything else we want to toss in?
Well, I think everyone should educate themselves on the November election. Decisions have yet to be made, but when they are made, please just stay up to date too. I'm sure the Scioto County Daily News will be carrying the latest information on how the election is going to be handled.
Because now what happens is the sheriff's race is settled. Okay, it's done. Of course, there'll be the general election, but there's only one candidate, so one vote. Bob's your uncle. So there is no, the contest, it was settled here today on the sheriff. Now, we still have county commissioners. We have a couple of very heated races on the county commissioner side. We have school board races. We have some other issues with levies that are going to be on the ballot. So there is a lot to do. It's just this one item. Scioto County Sheriff, this has been decided. The rest of it remains to be seen. So whenever it's time to vote again, because it seems like you're going to vote again. So when it comes time to vote again, I got an idea. Freaking vote.
It feels like it's so long away, but here's what I always think about the future. And I was thinking about this with the sheriff elect as he was walking out the door. I was coming over here to see you guys. I was right behind him, and I was thinking, what's going through his mind right now? And it's 8 months until he's sworn into office. But that 8 months, I mean, that's just the way life is and the way the world evolves. It will come.
Oh, yeah.
Some of us might not be here. Some of us might be here. But it will come. And
beer truck. We, raised up in church, you could get hit by a beer truck. Why does it have to be a beer truck?
Walk out here and be dead in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But the fact is
We're gonna pray that doesn't happen.
that day's coming. January 4th will be here.
Yeah.
And so will Election Day this November. It will be here. Seems like a long time away, but it's coming. And when it's here, you're going to be like, wow, it's here.
Hit it with any questions, just in case any questions came in, and we'll close out.
Hi, Bruce Crabtree. I've seen him.
That's it.
No questions. They just say hello to Betty. They like you.
They like Betty. Everybody likes Bubbly Betty. Hashtag Bubbly Betty. We call her Bubbly Betty, but nobody knows that.
I'm walking around the State House. Do you know Betty Smith, Scioto County Daily News?
Yeah. And listen, we always do a shout out to our friends in business. So we want to mention Joey Sandlin, and Joey Sandlin, Remax Realtors. He goes through McDonald's the other day, and he's driving through the drive-through. Of course, you can't go in, and the lady at the window says, "I can't remember your name, but you're the real estate guy on Scioto County Daily News."
They've done that to me and you.
Yeah. So huge shout out to Joey Sandlin, Remax Realtors, Nana Pap's Wonderful Gifts, Roger Hemming Construction, all of her creations. What is that?
This is the thing I want to remind everybody about.
Oh, okay, good. All of her creations, G Vapor, Patties and Pints, the Counseling Center,
Regimen Construction.
Roger Hemming Construction, not Regimen.
You guys have more advertisers than we have.
Yeah, and photography, web design
And much more.
web design and much more. So all of the, and there's still more to come because I'm going off memory instead of my list. Evan would know because he memorized the list.
Right.
All right. And we got one final thing before we shut down because this is huge and it's going to happen not under your nose but over your head.
It's called Operation American Resolve. It's going to be jets, fighter jets, flying low over Scioto County and the surrounding area. They said at 5:22 p.m. they'll be flying over Portsmouth.
Should I stand on my heel and record it?
Give or take 5 minutes, they said. You're going to see
my
them.
windows don't shake.
You're going to see them flying low. One thing I want to make note of: if you have dogs, cats, any kind of animals outside that are going to be frightened by these sonic boom sounds, low-flying jets, tie them up, bring them inside, because they're going to be scared.
They do. It shakes your windows.
Right. So everybody that did you hear that? Did you hear that? We're telling you now.
So Waverly around 5:18, give or take 5 minutes, they said. Portsmouth 5:22, Chillicothe 5:15, Ironton 5:26, and it's going to go over to Huntington at 5:28. So I'm going to be watching, hopefully.
And I have got to say that was a fantastic transition of something that's not under your nose but over your head, and then toss it to you.
Get them out of here.
That is fantastic.
I've got to go. I need some lunch. Is Patty and Pines open?
Curbside?
The curbside, that's right. All right, thank you, everybody. Scioto County Daily News, progress inspires change. Report without bias, tell the truth without compromise.